Hello, it's Daniel Dobos here, the Director of Mental Blank, and today we're going to look at how you can spend less time studying. We're going to start by looking at how to memorize definitions for exams faster than you've ever imagined. We're then going to look at how to spend much less time studying by cutting down the amount of time you spend reading. Then we'll look at how to get through those huge piles of exam notes, and finally I'm going to show you how you can take your success to the next level. Now, we're going to start with the 5 memory principles. If you haven't been to one of our 90 minutes HSC Success seminar, really recommend you get there. You can book for free if you go to hscsuccess.com.au/DVD. That URL again is hscsuccess.com.au/DVD. So make sure you get to one. If you have been, this is just going to be a quick review so that you're right on track to understand these new concepts. Number 1 is visualization. Remember, it's all about seeing an image rather than repeating something over and over in your head. It's about using your visual memory instead of your auditory memory. Second memory principle is association. It's about linking that new thing to the old thing. And the quick example we gave was, you see a gorgeous person at the party, smell the perfume, you think, oh my goodness, that's the same perfume as my mum. Oh my goodness, it's just not right. Association, you're doing it every day. Third memory principle is location. Every item must be in a location, somewhere which you've been to before. So it could be your house, it could be your park, it could be your school. But what that does is it strengthens the association. So you've got a new image in an old location, which is meaning that you're going to have a much stronger association. So that's why location is just so important. Next memory principle is unusual. Remember, it is the strange, unusual, quirky, odd things that you will remember. Remember, I spoke about the person in the job interview who comes and he meets that person who's wearing red boxer shorts and a yellow Hawaiian shirt. Bit strange, bit different. Giraffe that you see on the street you're going to remember, but whether you brushed your teeth 5 or 6 days ago, that's not exactly something you will recollect very easily. Emotional, okay? If you love something, if you completely adore it. Babies, we seem to always remember them. September 11, where were you? I'm sure you remember. The reason you do is because of emotion. The things that get your emotions are the things that you remember. So, you hopefully do recall that it's all about value. Getting maximum value for your memory. And those are the memory principles. So let's actually apply them now, and let's go through some really useful examples. So, Spanish is the first example that we're going to do. So in Spanish, the word for table in Spanish is mesa. So if you had an exam and you had to remember that table means mesa, how might you do it? Well, the first step is to realize that the word mesa is much like the word mess. Okay? So mess is something which we can easily visualize, whereas mesa is not. So that's why we're using mess. So what we do now is we take the word table and we link it to the word mess. And of course, what do we next do is we come up with a visual image or a visual movie which links table to a mess. So what might that be? Well, what about this? So as you can see, we've linked a mess to the table. So table must be mesa. So when you come into your exam, you think table, what's happening on the table? Oh yep, there's that mess on the table, must be mesa. Let's do another one. Drive. Spanish for drive is manejar. Manejar is like money and a jar. So what do? We link drive to the money and the jar. And how might we do that? Well, what about this? So, as you could see, the people were putting their money into the jar which was on the car. So when you get into the exam, you think drive. Oh yeah, what's that? Oh yeah, it's that fancy sports car driving. What were people doing? They were putting money into the jar. Money into the jar must be manejar. It's that easy. Okay, so how else can we save some time studying? Well, we're going to look at reading, and specifically, how were you taught to read? Well, think back to grade 1. I'm not sure about you, but when I was in grade 1, I had this amazing teacher. She had these letters, she put them on boards, and she took out the first board, and what was on it? It was a C. And so the whole class said K. She took out the A, and we said A. Took out the T, and we said T. Halfway through the year, something exciting happened. What did we do? Put them together, and we said the word cat. And then we said mat and rat and hat and all these one-syllable words. Grade 1 was an exciting time. And then we had to move on. And what did we do? We went for the sentence. And so we said the cat in the hat. And that's how we've all been taught to read. Now, since grade 1, have you learned a different, a more efficient, a more advanced way of reading? For most of us, the answer is no. And so what does it mean? It means that we're using this same grade 1 technology to do all of our reading. Now, what I'm suggesting is that we actually move past that. We move past this idea of this line shows the reader who looks at single words per viewing focus. That is how 95% of Australia's population is reading. Instead of that, there is a much better way. And the better way is just to look at something called speed understanding, which is really, instead of having such a narrow focus, it's just about broadening your focus. So, what might you do? Well, you might say, this line shows the reader who looks at groups of words per viewing focus. And so all you're doing is you're starting to broaden your focus instead of having that narrow focus. Now you might be thinking, well, how do you do that? Well, here's one really simple thing which you can straight away implement. Take your hand and use your finger as a guide. So move it across the page, and you will find that just by doing that, just by moving your finger across the page, you're going to start to see groups of words. Now, another major time-consuming complaint I get from students is how do you get through that huge pile of notes that you need to review for your exams? Okay, well, this is what most people do. They have notes that look like this. And we've got to ask, is that the best way of having your notes? Think back to value, visualization. Is there anything visual there? No. Association. Are the notes linked? Not really. Are you using the principle of location? Are you making things unusual, emotional? No. These things are not being done to those notes, and as a result, that's why these bullet points are just not effective for exam purposes. They're fine for taking notes in class, you quickly get down what's being said, but when it comes to actually understanding, when it comes to memorizing for an exam, they are definitely not the way to go. So, we don't want to do that. What should we do? Well, we want to start with the big picture first. Put your topic in the middle of the page, then say, okay, well, what are the subtopics? You know, global warming, it's about increased temperatures, it's about increased CO2, it's about certain impacts, and yes, it's about actions to take. So these are the main ideas related to global warming. Now, the most important thing you next want to do is you want to draw in the links. So increased CO2 causes increased temperatures causes certain impacts, and yes, there are also some actions we want to take. So we've got about 10, 12 words on the page, and straight away we can understand what this is all about. We can make sense, unlike the bullets, which were all over the place. Now, some people say, okay, but Daniel, there's got to be more detail. Yes, there is more detail, and we add the detail. Thank you very much, thank you very much, thank you very much. The difference is that the detail now is in sections. It's compartmentalized, and what that's going to mean is it's just going to be so much easier to absorb. So the last thing we're going to do is just put in a few images. Why do we put images? Think back to memory principle 1, visualization. You want to make it really visual. So if you compare these notes to those awful bullets, you can straight away see that it's 1, a lot easier to understand. 2, it's a lot easier to remember because we've got the visual images, we've got things in sections, in compartments, and as a result, this is a far, far better way to review your notes for exams. So while these might look nice, it's really something like this that we want to be using. Why are we here? The reason why we're here is because you want to get results. When you finish your HSC, You want to be in the top 5,000 students. You're going to get a UAI, it will be converted to an enter, and you don't want to be in the bottom 45,000. You want to get the best possible result you can, and to do that it's really quite simple. You just got to use these HSC success strategies. I used them. I finished year 12 with an enter of 99.25, and then I went to university, Melbourne University. I was studying engineering law, and I learnt more about these strategies, and what that meant was that when I studied international law, I got the top mark in that subject. There were 300 students in that subject, and they finished high school with scores of 99 or above. So really, why did I get that? It wasn't because I was any smarter. It wasn't because I went to a special school. It was just because I knew what worked, and I used those processes, and that was the result. So the next two subjects were 1 mark higher, and again, once you know the process, it's all really quite straightforward. So for you to get these sort of results, you've just got to use these HSC success strategies, and here's what we're going to cover in the next seminar. So we're going to cover the distraction eliminator, how you can eliminate distractions so that you're much more efficient. We're then going to look at rapid knowledge absorption, which is all about how to understand more of what you read and easily double your reading speed. And the focus there is on comprehension and understanding, so you have great understanding of what you're reading. We then look at instant recall, so that when you get into an exam, just like that, you can recall the definitions, the vocabulary, the dates, the formulae, anything you have to remember, you can instantly recall it, and it's really powerful to be able to easily memorize all the information you need in your exams and not have to worry about that. Next thing is automatic improvement method, and this is really important because this is about how to improve every assessment task you do so that you never repeat your mistakes. Most students, what they do is they make a mistake and they make the same mistake again and again and again, and when you use the automatic improvement method, that doesn't happen, so that every assessment task is always better than the last one. We then look at English success techniques, and that's an awesome session because we've got someone who got a perfect score in English. He got 120 out of 120 in his final exam, did not lose a single mark, and the way that he did that is he just had a process. So he's going to show you his step-by-step formula as to how you can achieve straight A+ results in English as well. Then is the Energizer method, and that's really important as well. We've got an energy expert who's going to show you how to maintain high energy levels so that you can be more efficient. And the last strategy is the stress minimizer method, which is all about how to reduce stress so that it doesn't distract you and so that you can be more efficient. So that's what our entire system includes. It's a system that's got me that result, 99.25, and I don't even use all of those strategies because when I was doing my year 12 I didn't know them all. Now, I'm not the only person that's obviously benefited using these strategies. We've taught them to thousands of students all around Australia. Alex is one person here where he used to spend an hour and a half memorizing, and he'd usually achieve 80%. But after the seminar, he's consistently receiving 100% and studying for no more than 20 minutes. So it's a major saving in time there, from 90 minutes to 20 minutes. But the other thing to note there is really that the marks have gone up from 80% to 100%. Chris McDonald, someone who's completed our entire program, ended up with a final result there of 96. And Carlos Escobar, another person, ended up with a final result of 98.7. So as you can see, these are strategies which work and which produce results. Because you've actually taken the trouble to watch this DVD, we are actually giving you a special offer. If you give us a call on 1300 mental, 1300 636 825, quote the DVD special and we will give you a discount. Look forward to talking to you soon and seeing you very shortly.